For the longest time, foldable phones have felt like this super cool, super expensive piece of future tech. But that's finally starting to change. Two of the biggest names are jumping into the budget-friendly ring. Samsung with its Galaxy Z Flip 7 FE and Motorola with the new Razr 2025. They both promise that awesome folding experience without completely emptying your wallet. So which one is the better buy? Let's find out.
It really all boils down to one simple question, right? When you're trying to make a great phone that doesn't cost a fortune, you have to make some compromises. The question is, who makes the smarter compromises? We're going to go head-to-head, round by round, to see which of these phones really gives you the most bang for your buck.
All right, let's meet our fighters. In this corner, we have the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 7 FE. It's got the pedigree coming from a long line of foldables that have really set the standard. And in the other corner, the Motorola Razr 2025, a real challenger with a legendary name and a few really clever tricks up its sleeve. Let the showdown begin.
Okay, first up, round one is all about the physical stuff. What these phones feel like in your hand, what they're made of, and of course, how good those screens look. We're talking materials, durability, and pixels. So if you just glance at them, you might think they're pretty much the same. They both have aluminum frames, they're almost the exact same weight, and they share the same IP48 rating for dust and water resistance. But you gotta look closer. See the hinge? Motorola's is reinforced with titanium. That's a really nice premium touch. And on the back, Samsung is all glass, while the Moto uses a cool mix of glass and polymer.
Now, when you actually unfold these things, the main displays are incredibly close. In bright sunlight, the Galaxy gets just a little bit brighter, hitting over 1400 nits. I mean, that means it's a tiny bit easier to see when you're outside, but honestly, they both look fantastic. It's a real photo finish here. But, and this is a big but, the story completely flips when you look at the little screens on the outside. The Motorola's cover screen is way brighter. We're talking over 1300 nits versus just over 1000 on the Samsung. That's a difference you can absolutely see and feel when you're just trying to check a notification out in the sun.
So for round one, the win has to go to Motorola. It's not just that its cover screen is brighter, it's also smoother with a 90 Hz refresh rate. Samsung's is stuck at 60 Hz. And think about it, that little outer screen is what you use for all your quick glances and tasks, so having a better experience there really gives the Moto the edge.
All right, on to round two, cameras and audio. For a lot of people, this is the make or break category. It's everything from the photos you post on Instagram, to the videos you take of your friends, to just how good your music sounds. This quote really hits the nail on the head. You've got two totally different ways of thinking about photos here. Samsung goes for that true-to-life, natural look. What you see is what you get. Motorola, on the other hand, does a lot more processing. It brightens up the dark spots and makes the colors pop. It's more vibrant, maybe less real. Honestly, which one you like better is probably just a matter of personal taste.
And you can really see that difference in portrait mode. The Motorola gives you that super blurry, dramatic background. But if you look closely, the Samsung is way better at the details. It's much more precise, cutting you out from the background. So, do you want a stronger effect or a cleaner one? That's the choice.
And here is where the wheels just completely fall off for the Razr. Taking video in low light is, well, it's a disaster. The source literally described it as looking like a camcorder from the 90s. The focus is constantly hunting all over the place. The brightness changes randomly. They basically called it useless. And that's a huge problem.
Because of that, round two is a knockout win for Samsung. No question about it. While you can argue all day about which one takes better photos, the Galaxy's video is just on another planet, especially when the lights get low. It's a much more reliable and consistent camera all around. Okay, let's move on. Round three, performance and software. This is the classic battle, isn't it? Raw, screaming horsepower on one side versus clever, practical software features that just make your life easier on the other.
So if we're just looking at the spec sheet, this isn't even a fight. The chip inside the Galaxy absolutely demolishes the one in the Motorola. Just look at these benchmark scores. Samsung is putting up nearly double the performance. It is a massive, massive power advantage on paper.
But here's the crazy thing. Benchmarks don't always tell the whole story. In some actual gaming tests, the Motorola somehow held on to higher frame rates. Now that being said, the source did notice some pretty bad lag on the Motorola just doing everyday stuff, like opening apps. That was never a problem on the super smooth Galaxy.
Now, if you're thinking long-term, this is a huge deal. Samsung is promising 7 years of updates, both for the operating system and for security. 7 years! Motorola is only offering 3 years of OS upgrades and 4 years of security. That's a massive difference if you plan on holding onto your phone for a while.
But just when you think Samsung is running away with it, Motorola strikes back with sheer convenience. Getting apps to run on Samsung's little cover screen is a pain. You have to mess with settings, install other software. It's a whole thing. On the Motorola, you just run any app you want, right from your library, no fuss. You can play full games on it. It is so much more useful. So you know what? This round is a wash. It's a draw. Samsung gets the win for pure power and that incredible long-term support. You can't ignore that. But Motorola's cover screen is so much better, so much more practical, that it completely levels the playing field.
All right, time for our final head-to-head round. And it's a big one that affects everyone, every single day: battery and charging. Who lasts longer and who gets you back in the action faster?
And when it comes to plugging in, wow, it is not even close. In a race from 0 to a full charge, the Motorola Razr crosses the finish line in just 55 minutes. The Galaxy takes an hour and 17 minutes. That's an extra 22 minutes you're stuck waiting by the wall, even though it has a smaller battery.
Yeah, this makes round 4 an easy, clear-cut win for Motorola. It's not just the faster charging. It has a bigger battery to begin with, and in testing, it lasted longer, especially while gaming. So, bigger battery, better life, and faster charging, that's a clean sweep.
Okay, the 4 rounds are done. The dust is settling. If we're counting wins, Motorola took 2 rounds, Samsung took 1, and 1 was a tie. So the Motorola should be the winner, right? Well, not so fast. Let's tally the final scorecard and get to the verdict.
So let's just recap real quick. Motorola won on design and display, and it also won on battery and charging. Samsung took that all-important camera round, and performance was a dead heat. Looking at this chart, you'd probably put your money on the Motorola.
But here's the twist. Despite winning more rounds on paper, the final call from the source is that the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 7 FE is the better phone overall. And you have to ask, why? Well, it's because the things Samsung gets right, like a great, reliable camera and a smooth, lag-free experience day-to-day, are just more fundamental to enjoying a phone. Motorola's wins are great, for sure, but they can't make up for a frustrating camera and that occasional stutter. So that leaves us with one last thing to think about. The Galaxy is the better all-around phone, but the Razr is a little cheaper, and there is no denying its cover screen is just better. So is it worth putting up with some lag and a weaker camera to save some cash and get that awesome outer display? At the end of the day, that's a choice that really comes down to what matters most to you.